Just want to do like an insight video today, and I want to talk about sort of like the things that are going on, and the shifting. And I'm talking like as a being that's going through all of this kind of stuff myself, and I share this because I'm experiencing it myself. So everything I get, I feel is needs to be shared, because actually we're all part of the same vibration, we're all part of the same source, and this is what this purpose of us being here is to share, to so we all like shift, and we all sort of like awaken, and we all start to sort of live in a more spiritual way, and this is what will create the new reality, which is part of the universal law of oneness and the shifting. That we're all sort of like part of that same source, and we're all interconnected and part of the same energy. But also it's important to realize that each of us shift at different sort of like stages, and would be drawn in different ways, but they're all drawn to the same way, which is like, again, it's this sense of awakening, and this sense of awakening and starting to cut to sort of come alive to source energy, and the universal source and the divine presence that we have in each of us, the divine spark, which is the essence, and that's the purpose of all of us. And we'll all be directed in different ways, and that's due to things like we have different gifts, we have different abilities that we've sort of like we've for some reason in this lifetime we've agreed to use that ability, or use that gift in a certain way, and we're using it as part of the same of the whole sort of divine sort of ascension, the divine sort of expression. So we start to sort of like shift and create a more harmonious planet on this earth, and this is what this time's about. And this is why these universal laws are very, very important, I feel, because they give us like a roadmap to start to live in a more spiritual way. And when we live in a more spiritual way, then we start to shift past the third dimensional reality, where we're connected through ego, and we're connected through attachments and things to the outer world, when actually that outer world is only a reflection of the inner world. And this is where this universal law of compensation comes in. The universal law, the universal world, or the physical world outside, is an expression of your inner world, which is where your universal, like the inner world, is of light and energy, and that's where your source lives, and that's where you sort of like where you connect to sort of like the source energy and your higher self. So it's very, very important that we create that kind of reality within ourselves, this serene vibration, and this serene sort of energy, and harmony, so that we can then express it in the outer world, and express it in the outside world, and that will help to shift the planet. Also, again, the universal law of compensation works in that way on a bigger scale. What we're creating within ourselves and what we're sending out as a vibration frequency to the planet is also what's directing Mother Earth, and is connected to Mother Earth. This, this vibration, this vision is very much around us, and this is what this dawning is about. This is what this awakening is about. And again, it's like when we start to shift these vibrations and we start to connect to these spiritual realms, and it's really, really important to do that at the moment. So it's about opening your spiritual energy, and you can do that by going inside. And this is where this universal law of inspired action comes into play, because the inspired action is about going inside, sitting in the silence, and listening to that intuition, listening to that guidance, listening to that source. Again, it's connecting you to that source. Once you connect to the source, then you dissolve the lower frequencies, and you start to emit or activate the higher frequencies, the higher vibrations, and the spiritual sort of frequencies within yourself. And this is what opens you up and opens up your energy centers. And again, this is where your energy expands, you expand, and you start to manifest and create a higher frequency within your own life. And then that starts to create a higher reality, also physically outside. But it also then helps in a way, because that also sends like a vibration and a frequency to the planet to start to dissolve, and also remove blocks within the Earth's energy as well, to start to allow these energy frequencies, energy grids, these energy lines to start to awaken to these different frequencies. And this is what's happening at the moment, and this is what the ascended masters are doing, this is what the angels are doing, and all these other beings are doing, these universal teachers, is they're awakening us through insight and communication, so that we can start to activate and awaken and be co-creators on the planet, and start to create with that universal sword, to create a better reality here, a better spiritual reality on this planet. And this is what the new awakening, this is what the new dawning is about, and this is what the ascended masters are doing. In theory, these universal laws can work as practices, but they're like initiations as well, because a lot of the universal masters went through these initiations, these universal laws, and lived within them, but also they managed to walk around and express them in harmony, and that's how they managed to move past this earthly sort of like realm, these lower dimensions, because they managed to master those universal laws and these principles of living spiritually. That was part of the ascension, and that's how they went over. And that's how you become sort of like, in a sense, a master, is because you're starting to use and live in a more spiritual way. But living in a more spiritual way is about living in harmony. So anything that's not in harmony in your own life is out of balance. And if it's out of balance, then it's not in line with source, it's not in line with the universal or spiritual principles. And this is the concept that we need to start, and this is where we have to get out of that intellectual mind, that sort of like ego mind, and start to get into our spiritual hearts, where we can start to live in a more compassionate and loving way with each other, but also create a vision of more harmony and peace on this planet, because this is what it's meant to be. And this is symbolic again of when you talk about, you got Bible stories and things, and people talk about the Garden of Eden and it was paradise and heaven on earth and all of this. That is the symbolic meaning, that when we create a harmonious place here, this is why heaven and earth is connected, because we're spiritual beings with spiritual energy and light, and what we create, we can manifest here. So it's like this planet can become like heaven on earth. That's the principle. That's the point of it. To me, I feel that's what like Christ teachings were about. When by loving each other and opening up and healing and having compassion for each other and truly sort of like accepting everybody for who they were, and seeing the source and the energy and the light within each being, and realizing that is who we truly were. That is us as our essence, but it's what connects us, because we're all part of the same source. We're all part of the same family. If you hurt one, you're hurting yourself, because they're like your brother, they're like your sister. And this is how the spiritual world works, and this is why the spiritual world flows and works in that way, because it's part of the same source. It's this universal law of oneness again. So as we start to realize this and we awaken to this, anything that we do that harms or hurts somebody else only hurts ourselves, because actually what it does is it takes and affects our vibration, and it lowers our vibration, so it lowers our frequency. So spiritually we become denser, we become heavier, we become caught up, and that will manifest into something. If you go around hurting people or saying things or doing things in actions, then your vibration will be low, and it will be dark and it'll be dense, and you won't emit a lot of light. So what that will do is that will make you feel heavy, that will make you feel can make you feel sort of like, that your life's not going very well, and then you become angry, then you become frustrated, and it's a vicious cycle. It's a cycle, it's a rhythm. It's like the universal law of rhythm, which is cycles. That cycle will keep sort of recreating, or will keep going around. So this is why it's important about vibrations and things. And when we talk about vibration, we're talking in a practical way. Your thoughts are vibrations, are energies. So try and use your thoughts and your vibrations in a higher way, because if you use it in a lower way, the only thing it will do is lower your vibration. But also, when you lower your vibrations, you lower and close down your energy centers, and also again, your body's not vibrating with the energy of the spiritual energy, and it closes down your centers. But it sort of makes you feel different, like mentally and emotionally, and that's where you can start to pick up illnesses and things like that as well. So it affects you physically as well. So there's a well-being aspect to this as well. It's not just like, let's go off and connect to our guides and our higher selves and the source. It's also a physical thing. It makes you feel better, living in a way that's more harmonious, living in a way that where you vibrate with love or peace or happiness or joy. It makes you feel happy, it makes you feel light, it makes you feel energized. And that's the point. It's the point of what we're talking about here. But on a bigger scale, it also helps dissolve sort of like the old third dimensional frequency, which is, things like fear, jealousy, envy. All those kind of things are very much like an ego sort of thing. So there's higher vibrations to emotions and thoughts as well, and this is what the universal laws teach us, the higher we can keep our vibration, the more we keep our energy clear, the more we're open to receive, because we're connected to the source. And when we're connected to the source, we're provided for. We'll get information, we'll get guidance, we'll get understanding, and all of that can only come by being open to it, open to the source and open to the energy. But you must sort of like stay open to it, and you must keep your vibration high, because this is what allows us to move into the fifth dimension and away from the third dimension. So that's a little